Welcome all you lovely people to another r/maliciouscompliance video. Our first story of the day is by Eddie Baby Abel. So 35 people walk into a pub. Sadly, this isn't a setup for a joke. So this happened a couple of years back in a pub I was working at. I worked the bar at this pub, which was pretty popular, especially on sunny days as we had a lot of outdoor seating and a pretty huge beer garden. Now the story takes place one exceptionally hot summer Sunday. For those of you who have the joy of not being all that familiar with our tea and crumpet society, I'll enlighten you as to why this is a pain for working in a pub. Firstly, the moment the sun blesses our sodden gray land with its presence, we British come out of our thatched caves to bask in its glow like the lizard people our royal family is. This subsequently also means everyone had the exact same thought of, let's go have a pint at the pub and sit in the sun. Yay for bartending. The other noteworthy point here is that on Sunday, a roast is had. Beef, lamb, chicken, or pork with roasted potatoes, veggies, gravy, and Yorkshire puddings. All of which is wonderful, unless you have to spend 2 hours cooking it. With that out of the way, this particular Sunday we were full, and I mean full. Bar 4 or 5 people deep, the 100 plus tables all double booked for turnover, and I found myself without a moment's respite between pouring drinks and telling people we were fully booked. During this manic rush, I spot a bit of a commotion going outside and see a group of roughly 30 to 35 people, including screaming kids, walking through the courtyard, ignoring everyone, and into the beer garden. Once my colleague and I had thinned down the numbers at the bar substantially, I told him I was going to walk past to see what the huge group was doing. Anyone that's worked with real-life people, of course, know that people suck, hence why I just wanted to walk past and avoid interaction. Also, it's a pet peeve of mine when people just sit themselves down ignoring all the staff and expecting us to accommodate them without even the courtesy of mentioning to someone that they're here. So I take a step past the threshold of the bar. Always dangerous, and that day, a choice I regretted, and walk through the beer garden collecting empty glasses as I go. As I near the area the group is settled in, as far away from the building as possible I might add, I avoid eye contact at all costs. You're not going to come say hi, then I can't see you. Walking past the group, I'm spotted by a very angry woman, the Alpha Karen if you will, snapping her fingers at me to try and get my attention as I tried to get away. She stormed up to me and stared at me dead in the face. "Excuse me, we've been waiting here for the last 15 minutes and no one has come to give us menus. What the heck are you all doing?" I'll admit, I was momentarily in shock as the group had to walk through the courtyard and must have seen the crowds of people and stressed waiters everywhere. I say, "I'm sorry, madam, but I had no idea you were here. Did you speak with anyone to let us know?" Then what I saw was a rage build just below her plasticized skin. "Yes, I spoke with the redhead." No one that worked there was a redhead. "Well, anyway, I want some menus. We're starving." I looked past her and asked how many they were. "We're 36 people." "That's not a problem, is it?" she said, without so much as a hint of understanding why this was ridiculous. I say, "Well, yes, actually, that's quite a lot for a walk-in, and as you probably saw on your way in, we're extremely busy. I'm afraid we have no tables available, and we don't serve food in the beer garden. You'll have to try your luck at getting a table in the courtyard, but I can't imagine you'll be able to find enough seating for the 36 of you, and I simply can't hold tables for you, turning other guests away." The reality is that I could, but simply didn't want to. She stared at me for a moment, then said, "You don't serve food in the beer garden, or you won't serve me food in the beer garden." "No, madam, the establishment does not serve food in the beer garden." "Ugh, fine. Look, can we just have chips then? For the kids? They're starving." I thought about it for a moment, deciding if I was really willing to put up with this or if I should just say no and send them on their way. Against my better judgment, I said okay, but they would have to sit in the courtyard once the tables were available, and asked roughly how many portions of chips they would be wanting. She replied 6, and I said that's probably fine, but she'll have to go inside to order. This did not sit well with her, and she started to get very cross. On my way back in, I swung by the kitchen to let them know what's up and to expect 6 chip orders, but not to rush them because the woman was an enormous pain. I get back to the bar and it's busy again, 3 to 4 people deep, so I immediately jump in and start pouring pints. A few minutes later I hear, "Oh, for God's sake, this is ridiculous," and immediately know who it is. This tiny angry woman pushes her way through the crowd and snaps her fingers at me to get my attention. "You, I want to order my chips, and hurry it up, the kids are hungry." I say, "Okay, I'll put them on now. 6 portions, correct?" "No, 17. Sufficient to say I was bewildered. "Madam, that's not what we discussed. I'll have to see if the kitchen can even do that. We're very busy." "Well, go on then, run along to the kitchen," she barked. As I was about to, I hear, "Actually, can you make it 35? "Madam, I'll be honest with you, there's no way you'll get them all at once. It's simply too many for the fryer. It'll have to be in batches and it's going to take a while as there are more pressing orders ahead of you. You'll also need to pay up front." "I don't care, bring them one by one if you have to, as soon as one is ready to bring it out." Bingo. I went and spoke to the chef explaining what was going on. Rude woman, many chips, one by one. He laughed and we decided to do exactly as she asked. Bring on the malicious compliance. So despite being very, very busy, as soon as 1 portion of chips was ready, I took it out. 1 portion, only 1. She was not pleased. "What the heck is this? I said 35 portions, not 1. As I explained to you inside, madam, 35 portions is simply far too many for our fryers to handle, and there's a substantial number of other orders ahead of you. I had to try very hard to hide my poop-eating grin at this point. But, what the heck do you expect me to do with this?" I say, "Perhaps you could have 1 chip each per portion," and I swiftly turned and walked away. Following this, every 10 to 15 minutes I would take out 1 more, and only 1 more, portion of chips to the group. By about portion 12, they had been there several hours and were fed up. They tried complaining to the manager, but she was so rude and disrespectful to myself, my manager, and other staff members that he dismissed her, stating that I had explained clearly to her that we were very busy, and she herself told me to bring them out 1 portion at a time if need be. They left very angry, and we had 23 portions of chips paid for that staff got to enjoy later on. If this was you, would you be heavily enjoying your free chips, aka French fries, after the events of this story and after everything died down? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by BullShow12. We're creating an hourly bank now? Sure, go for it. For some context, I work in a hotel. For those who have worked in this field or are currently in it, you know what I mean when I say we don't exactly have schedules. For those who haven't, stick with me and you'll know what I mean. So I've always been the helpful kind of employee. You need a new menu done? Canva and go. Someone to welcome the guests and take them to their rooms? Sure. I only don't drive, and only because I didn't take my permit yet. Different country, different laws, etc., etc. So even though I'm a receptionist, I do pretty much anything that needs to be done. Even though it's a small hotel, not even 30 rooms, helping with everything and still caring for your position does take a lot of time, which means I usually stay overtime. And also, if a coworker feels sick, they also know that I'm the one to call. Happened before. So, the day before yesterday, our chef suggested me and my morning coworker leave because the afternoon receptionists had arrived already, so we could keep social distancing and limit the amount of people doing nothing. She said she had already talked to the boss and he had allowed it, so we left. The next morning, yesterday, we started reading the previous messages to catch up, and caught this exact chef telling our boss that she had released us early so we would owe them our credit. The thing is, there has never been such a thing in there. Since the afternoon coworker and I usually stay past our time or come up early because some other employee does not respect their schedule. Also, I always show up when needed and am always available through text messages to clarify and help with whatever situations happen. So yesterday afternoon, she started the same conversation, texting us and suggesting we left early so there wouldn't be too many people in there. My colleague agreed. I simply didn't. I said I was saving my hour credits for when I actually needed them, and since she is not the boss, she can't actually force me to leave, so she didn't. But she also hates when people disobey her, and my coworker said I was taking my break when it happened. She was screeching, madder than he's ever seen her, and I still stayed until 3:30 p.m. I usually leave at 4. And only left half an hour early because I was bored and my boyfriend suggested we meet, and since his schedule is also chaos, I wouldn't let that chance slip. And I'll keep doing that. You want me to leave early so I owe hour credit? No thank you. I'd rather stay and find something useful to do because, I love being here. It contains sarcasm. I mean, honestly, it's kind of nice to have that flexibility where if something does come up, like your boyfriend becomes available, you can just kind of go, okay, you know what? Yeah, you can have the hour credit. I'll see you later. Or half an hour early. And if they're going to be sticklers about how many hours you owe, I would definitely be a stickler about how many hours I spend past what I'm supposed to be working. See how they respond to that. This next story is by Sushi Fun Time. Don't borrow the projector adapter from the cram school so I can do my job? Okay. I work at a cram school in Asia, and my boss has a lot of stupid rules. In each room of the cram school, there are adapters that fit our different laptops so that we can project the lessons that we are teaching. Since my workplace didn't supply us with work laptops and standardized everything, they have had to buy different kinds of adapters that will enable us to project the lessons. I'm salty about not being given a work laptop, but that's not the point of the story. Anyway, some of my colleagues cannot be responsible for the adapters they have borrowed, and so adapters have gone missing. To fight this, my bosses have implemented the rule that no one can take the adapters from each branch of the center. They have also labeled them so that they know which center each adapter is supposed to be at. Normally, this rule is fine, but one day I had to go to another branch, Branch B, to teach a class since a teacher had called in sick. Branch B does not have the adapter that will enable me to project onto the screen since I'm using a MacBook. Since I'm not allowed to bring the adapter from the center that I work at, Center A, I simply did not grab it from Center A before I left work the previous day, and made my way to Center B in the morning to let this scenario unfold. In the morning of my class, I texted my boss that Branch B does not have a compatible adapter with my MacBook Air, and that I couldn't project the lessons onto the screen. The class starts, the students come in, and I have to tell them that I cannot project the lesson onto the screen. We waste a few minutes of precious time, and my boss has come into Branch B in her pajamas and her unmade-up face to hand me a compatible adapter. I enjoyed seeing the haggard look on her face because this is the consequence of her inflexibility. The kids and I also got to slack off for a bit before starting class, making it a win for all of us. I mean, if they're going to make it a little bit unpleasant to do your job for you guys, you don't really feel too bad about making one experience kind of unpleasant for them too. And our final story of the day is by Retired Fart 42. Ever had a malicious compliance event with TSA? The airport. It happened to me around 2014. I was going through the magnetic detector thingy and it beeped. So they pulled me aside and wanted to do the wand. So what happens? The button on my jeans was metal and that set off the wand. But that shouldn't have set off the big machine, right? So the guy told me to undo the button. My belt was in the scanner machine, so I did it. Then he told me to loosen the zipper. I asked, "Are you sure?" So he says in a nasty voice, "You want to catch your flight or not?" So, okay. Down goes my pants and they stop at my knees. The airport is busy. There are women walking by looking at me with shocked expressions. I just smile. There's kids looking, all ages. And I just stand there with my arms out like he said. He looks, moves the wand over my crotch, no beep, and tells me to go on. I pull up my pants and zip up. Everyone that saw me in the airport probably thought I was a perv or something. Looking back at that, I wish I was wearing a thong. OP has way more bravery than I would ever have. I'd be like spreading my legs out super wide so my pants don't fall down or anything like that. I personally would be desperate to not have anything remotely similar to what OP had going on happen to me. Way too awkward for me. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.